To conclude, as I announced this past December, we increased financial requirements for new study permit applicants to a little over $20,000 for 2024. This figure is a more accurate reflection of the cost of living today in Canada and doubles what was required before. It means the students are better prepared.
So 24 hours, this is what I requested in our
the low entry
meeting
by Stats Canada each year to ensure it continues to reflect the true cost of living in our country. Ça permettra aussi aux étudiants étrangers d'être financièrement préparés à la vie au Canada à ce titre et de protéger contre la fraude, les abus et évidemment l'exploitation. The change is just one of our many planned reforms to the International Student Program, which includes the implementation of a new recognized institutions framework that will reward post-secondary institutions that provide a higher standard of support for international students. Nous voulons que les établissements soient tenus de fournir les services dont les étudiants ont besoin, y compris la recherche d'un logement adéquat et l'accès à des services essentiels tels que les soins de santé. Le travail sur ce cadre est en cours et j'aurai plus de détails à partager dans les mois à venir, une fois que les consultations avec les provinces, les territoires et les institutions auront eu lieu. Combinées aux réformes du programme annoncées précédemment, ces modifications permettront d'établir un cadre plus solide pour soutenir et protéger les étudiants étrangers. I want to thank provincial and territorial partners for their ongoing work to help improve this program because we know a lot of that responsibility and jurisdiction, frankly, lies on their shoulders. As well, I'll be meeting with provincial and territorial ministers on May 10th to discuss our plan for a sustainable, trusted immigration system and how to better align our immigration levels with the needs that have been expressed across the country. Impatient, évidemment, de prendre vos questions.
Previously quoted that you have 30 hours. Can you talk about how you got to 24?
Yeah, look, 8 shifts is 3 shifts of 8 hours. It seems reasonable. It's a lot to be working during the week. We know that over 20 hours, there are more than 80+% of students working over 20 hours. We think it would have been unduly burdensome to reduce it to 20 hours or even more. We know from studies as well that when you start working in and around the 30-hour levels, there is a material impact on the quality of your studies. And again, being able to work 30 hours a week is as close to a full-time job, and it doesn't make sense. It does not match with the idea behind the international student program, which is to study and not to work. But again, it costs a lot of money to be an international student. It can cost $40,000. So we don't want to put them in undue hardship. Students that want to come here have to realize that they can only work 24 hours in order to offset some of their costs or bring the material resources themselves when they come.
Why is it too fall?
It's just the implementation program. There's a consultation period that by law we have to undertake. Canceling the policy right now means things snap back to 20 hours. Now, if you're a student and you're on break, like most students, you can work 40 hours a week or more. But those that are taking full-time studies during the summer will in fact have to comply to a 20-hour week, and that'll be ramped up after the consultation and regulation period to 24 hours in September.
Vous avez mentionné un pourcentage de gens qui travaillent plus que 20 heures, j'ai pas compris.
Oui, parmi la cohorte d'étudiants internationaux qui travaillent, il y a plus de 80% de ces étudiants qui travaillent au-delà de 20 heures et j'ose présumer bien au-delà de ça. Donc, la réduction à 20 heures, ça aurait été préjudiciable de façon matérielle.
Mais ma vraie question, c'est que la plupart des étudiants vont pas faire des chiffres de 8 heures. Ils vont travailler 4 heures ici, 3 heures là. Et donc, je repose un peu la question de ma collègue. Pourquoi 24? Pourquoi pas tout simplement être revenu à 20, par exemple?
Ben, d'abord parce que à 80% et plus de gens qui travaillent au-delà de 20 heures, on savait qu'il y a des gens qui ont besoin de cet argent-là pour payer leurs frais qui sont quand même très significatifs par rapport à un étudiant qui vient d'ici, qui paye peut-être 5, 6, 7 000. Un étudiant qui vient d'étranger peut payer à peu près 30, 40, 50 000 parfois. Donc, à moins que ce soit une personne très fortunée, il faut qu'il travaille. Au-delà de 20 heures, puis trois quarts de travail, ça donne l'occasion à ces étudiants de pouvoir donner un commitment aux entreprises pour lesquelles ils travaillent au-delà de 20 heures. Donc, il y avait un juste milieu. On pensait que 30 heures était encore trop haut. Mais je pense que le juste milieu se trouve à 3 chiffres de 8 heures.
On a un plan de base de venir pour démanteler le canton de Rcic et des villes.
Moi, franchement, le droit de manifester de façon pacifique, primordial dans toute société démocratique. Ça donne pas droit à la violence ou cautionner les propos haineux, d'autant plus les propos de nature antisémite, entre autres. Donc, c'est mon comté, McGill. Donc, je suis à l'Université de Montréal aussi. C'est clair que, surtout dans un domaine académique, la liberté d'expression, le droit de manifester, c'est excessivement important. En même temps, on peut absolument cautionner la violence et évidemment les propos haineux. Et je donnerai pas de conseils
Antisémite et qu'il y a eu de l'intimidation. Est-ce que vous avez vu ça ou est-ce que vous êtes d'accord avec l'Université McGill?
Je questionne pas McGill. C'est eux qui ont des gens sur le terrain, des intervenants, qui font des efforts de rapprochement et de dialogue. Alors, c'est à suivre. Mais évidemment, je vais être très clair en disant qu'on respecte le droit des gens de protester et de manifester, sans cautionner évidemment la violence ou les propos haineux.
Mais si on comprend, vous êtes contre que la police vienne,
justement, pas d'instruction de police.
Ça.
Finish his line of questioning.
Juste pour le droit de manifester. Donc, a priori, on comprend que la convention policière s'est déplacée.
Je donne aucune instruction. So, the right to protest and the right to free speech is excessively important, particularly in an academic setting. McGill is a place of free discourse. It's one where the right to protest has to be respected. It doesn't, at the same time, that right allow violence or permit or sanction violence. I think we have to be very careful about any sort of display of violence, intimidation towards students. Nor does that type of protesting ever should include hate speech, including anti-Semitic speech. So it's something we have to watch very carefully as a society. McGill has an international reputation. And I think it becomes a beacon for people to come and manifest their views. And it's something I think as political actors, we have to respect. But again, we shouldn't tolerate for a second any form of violence or any hate speech, including anti-Semitism.
There's a question of whether or not the encampment will remain. Are you saying that you have not seen anything that crosses the line at this point?
I have seen the press releases that have come from McGill. Some of the acts alleged, if they are true, are extremely concerning. But I think as politicians, looking at that setting, looking at what McGill represents, what academia represents, what that space represents for people in the context of the war in Gaza, is something I think we have to be very judicious in how we treat that. At the same time, we have to be quite categorical if we see any violence or intimidation of students, particularly to preserve that academic environment of freedom of expression and not tolerate for a second hate speech, including anti-Semitism.
On the battery factory, do you have any idea yet how many foreign workers are going to be coming to work on that? It's obviously a very big concern to the building unions. We've seen it with the Stellantis plants and Volkswagen.
I don't, Glenn. I know that as part of the investment, the investors expect to be able to bring in workers, whether they are specialized or otherwise, under the free trade agreements that we have and that we benefit from. Just as we send workers over to them, that reciprocity is integral to the actual investment. If people don't want the investment, that's a choice as well. We got that investment. We've made some commitments. Didn't negotiate it myself, but the reality is that we do have to have a number of workers that will be in